From the far reaches of the Milky Way galaxy, it's Retro Nerd Girl with a film review for you. Today, I'll be reviewing the movie Flashdance, released in 1983, starring Jennifer Beals and Michael Nouri, directed by Adrian Lyne. The synopsis is: Alex is a welder who is a flash dancer at night because she wants to attend a dance school to learn how to be a good professional dancer. She is driven, and this film takes us on the journey of her internal evolution. The story follows the typical hero's journey, getting the call to action and the hero rejecting it, then accepting it. It seems so strange, but it's actually in this story. One of the story's assets is that this fictional story actually feels real, and that's due to it being based on the real life of a construction worker / welder turned dancer, Maureen Morter. In 1982, Maureen Morter signed an agreement with Paramount, releasing her from any claim regarding her life story. In return, she received a check for only $2,300. The movie later grossed over $150 million. Now, the film seems almost like a melding of an after-school special and a documentary. And I've heard people say that they think that the movie is really corny, but that's because the 80s were corny. It couldn't help itself. And no doubt, this movie really epitomizes the 80s for what it was. The pacing. At an hour and 34 minutes, the pacing is good in my opinion. The original cut of the film was actually 2 hours and 20 minutes long. Can you believe that? But against the protest of the screenwriter and the director, the studio heads insisted that the film be cut down. And thank goodness, I can't imagine how much more of this film there was. Now the challenge. The challenge here isn't an evil villain rubbing their hands in the shadows and twirling their mustaches, but it is Alex's life. It's ups and downs, moments of sadness, moments when everything works, and moments when everything falls apart. The empathy here. Initially, Alex doesn't really say much. Most of her involvement in her world is done visually. She doesn't really speak until about 9 minutes into the film, and not so much afterwards, just here and there where she's needed to talk. The way Alex talks about dancing really pulls you into her dreams. You can see her struggles internally and externally with her desires to be a dancer. Instinctively, the audience roots for her and has compassion for her struggles. At 18 years old, she has integrity. She won't just have dinner with the boss, Nick Hurley, even though she's clearly attracted to him. She doesn't want to get ahead by getting there unnaturally, but her character really gets an arc by trying and doing everything she can to take advantage of her moment to shine, no matter how it occurs. Even though it makes me tear up, I love the small stories that visibly show people in her life that are also pursuing their dreams, and the amount of people who are willing to talk them out of it before they even start. Following the story of her friend Jeannie is heartbreaking, but that's the real story for most people seeking their dreams, and sometimes a little encouragement could really change it all. The film shows us that when Jeannie gives up, how it impacts her self-esteem, even when there are people there to actually support her. And this is the lesson that Alex learns, and it helps her to reach her character arc. The technical aspects. The film was the first collaboration between producers Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer, The film was gorgeously shot and composed, filled with amazing original contemporary songs for the movie that influenced pop culture and the music of its time and defined the 80s. The soundtrack was amazing and made the film so addicting at the time. There were so many wonderful songs. I remember being glued to the TV whenever the music videos played. Irene Cara actually wrote the lyrics to the film's Oscar-winning theme song while riding in a car to the recording studio the very day she recorded the song. Another cool fact about the music is that Michael Sembello had intended that the rhythm for the song Maniac to be too fast to dance to, and it just so happens to be one of the best songs to dance to. One of the incredible features to the film is its focus on the mesmerizing art of dance of all kinds. What was really shocking about the film at the time was its inclusion of breakdancing, which was actually building as a dance movement in the 80s, and its recognition really set audiences on fire. Performances. Jennifer Beals was perfect for the role of Alex because she expresses so much with her eyes and smile. The dancing is top-notch for the time, but there are obvious scenes you can tell it was not Jennifer Beals dancing. The wig and body types didn't exactly match, but there were a few times where you couldn't tell. Now it's a well-known fact that French actress Marine Jahan was Jennifer Beals' body double for most of the dancing scenes. But at the time of the release of the film, no one knew, and Jahan was kept from the press. What worked for the performance was that the two actresses had similar shaped torsos and face. The scene where Jahan is performing the kabuki face dance, you can't really tell that it's not Jennifer doing it if it weren't for that terrible wig. The Last Dance audition was a group effort of body doubles to achieve that memorable scene. Jahan did the main dance sequence in the beginning, and Alex's leap through the air was actually done by a gymnast, Sharon Shapiro, and the breakdancing was done by Crazy Legs. Jennifer Beals added her personal touch to a fashion trend the movie started: the collarless sweatshirt. It seems as if this was one of her own sweatshirts that had shrunk in the wash, and then she had to cut the collar off to get her head over it. And it's a trend that you can look around today and still see. Michael Nouri plays Alex's boss and love interest, Nick Hurley. He plays Nick wonderfully, a man who's fascinated by this young woman, but also trying to love her. And I think that his chemistry with Jennifer Beals is delightful. Two other performances of note: Dina Tech, who was performed by Tina Rhodes, is one of my favorite actors from the 80s, doing the sequence called Manhunt. And wow, she kills it. I mean, it shows her athleticism and her incredible physique. I mean, that's really her dancing and performing all those incredible stunts. What a great job. And however, on a sad note, Sunny Johnson, who played Jeannie, did a fantastic job in her role, and unfortunately she died at the age of 30 in 1984, a year after the release of this movie, from a cerebral hemorrhage. I just thought that there was such a very honest innocence in her performance that really touches the heart. The best part of the film. You know, there's a couple of really interesting scenes. Like, there's this one scene where this guy, Pete, who introduces Nick to Alex, he actually memorizes Alex's social security number just to let Nick know that she works for him. And I don't know, but that always tickles me into laughter. It's such a weird thing to do. I would just say, hey, that girl works for you. He had to actually say in her entire social security number. And I thought that was just the weirdest thing. The music and the soundtrack were just incredible. I mean, it's one of my favorites. Every once in a while, I'll just end up listening to the soundtrack. One of my favorite songs from there is actually what they call the love theme. It has sort of an older quality to a very classical quality to it, because it's just piano playing, but it's romantic and it's very sweet. I love it. It's one of my favorites. But all the other dance songs are just great. I'll drop everything I'm doing to sing along with What a Feeling. It's timeless for me, I guess. I'm sure it's just a nostalgic thing, but it's one of my favorite soundtracks. And the dancing sequences in this movie are just superb, especially the amazing dance audition at the end. It's wowing. It was wowing in 1984. Not so much now, because I think we have to also consider in 1984, dancing was actually not something that everybody could do. There was a big deal about, people not being able to dance on the beat. And so this was sort of getting the public interested in dance in general. Now my wish list is that there's a couple of racial jokes that was in the movie that really cheapens the enjoyment of the film for me. The thing is that some of the things that they say weren't even important to the script, and it could have easily been cut out. Now the ending is of course my favorite part of the story. We have the iconic dance audition with Irene Cara's beautiful song playing, What a Feeling, in which the board of the repertory gets to see Alex's true talents. I just cheer for her, and it just makes me so happy to see her express herself in dance in a very honest way. It's one of the most beautiful parts of filmmaking history. My enjoyment. Pop singers, fashion designers have been influenced by this movie and its iconic images and sound. The legacy of the shoulder sweatshirts and leg warmers still lives on. Man, I really love this film, and I know that my nostalgia goggles are totally on. And if you've seen the film and you're like, I don't get it, I hope I've explained exactly why it's so special to me. A film like this today wouldn't be able to make it on the big screen, to be honest. But it worked so well in the 80s because it was new and it was fresh. It changed the world, really. Now, does it still hold up? For me, it still holds up as a bit of entertainment. But for a younger generation, I'm sure there'll be moments that will definitely test their patience, especially the pacing. It does run a little slow. As a person with a background in dance, this movie is, like taking a little dip into heaven. It's sexy and it's beautifully lit, and every scene is nearly cinematically gorgeous. Just the colors that are used and the palettes and the intense, the lighting and the staging of things. I just really enjoy that aspect of the film. But beyond the gorgeous visuals, there's the incredible contribution to music and fashion, which I already talked about. And it actually has one single deep message for all the dreamers out there. And no truer words couldn't have been spoken by Nick Hurley himself when he tells Alex, "Don't you see? You give up your dream, you die." So, dream on, movie lovers. Dream on. My rating is a 7.9. Well, that sums up my review. I hoped you liked it. This is Retro Nerd Girl signing off. Take care, movie lovers. I'm off to my next review.